show up to one of several funerals I've attended for Grandpa's suite. With you, with me, someone's gotta help me dig. Someone's gotta help me dig. Jesus Christ, girl, it hasn't been long, so it seems, since I was picking out an island and a tomb for you.
everybody. Happy Thursday. I thought about starting the stream by just ripping my shirt off, but then I decided against it. Just kidding. Oh! Can you imagine? Wow, what is happening? 70s and 80s. Pop culture icons. Really, the 80s. Let's just call it the 80s. Who's next? Hold on, there's someone I know who rose to fame in the 80s in New York City. May or may not currently be the president of the United States. I mean, these things happen in threes, although someone else just died too.
What a wild week
Who
for
else just died?
icons. Love your stream, you keep me engaged / awake at work, qua love.
Perpetual Exhaustion, thank you for the 12 months. Azov, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Ruby, thank you for the 23 months. There's a lot of sounds happening right now. Wait, Theo from Cosby died, but there was someone else like in the last 24 hours too. Chuck Mangione. Yeah, Chuck Mangione. Not related to Luigi. No, I know Ozzy. We covered Ozzy, but Chuck Mangione, who was a jazz musician. You like jazz? Who was not just a character on King of the Hill. Yeah, this guy. Hold on. So does that mean that we've already had our death in threes, and perhaps the Orange Man won't be getting it? Chuck Mangione, whose jazz horn warmed up the pop charts, has died. His smooth jazz hits topped the Billboard adult contemporary charts in the 70s and 80s. Along the way, he picked up 2 Grammys, an Emmy Award, and played himself as a recurring guest star on a Fox animated series, and that series was King of the Hill. Does Farley want to come in? Wait, where is he? So cute. Why is he so stinking cute? I think it's kind of funnier when he's just like a blurry little blob in the background. He is the real star of the show. Let's be for reals. He's my superstar. We should ask them. Literally the wildest shit I've ever seen. Ozzy Osbourne, is Mitch McConnell even in this thing? Whoa, wait. Get Hulk Hogan next time, please. Stop it. What did Suns 6906 know? Oh my god, this was 2 days ago. Holy shit. Do you have any thoughts about Trump? What do they know? What power do they have? Should I just try and tweet out names? It's giving Death Note. Yeah, it is. Well, that's eerie. I fucking love that prophecy meme. Bro, how is Mitch McConnell not dead? Thank you for letting Jamie Lee Curtis have it on Let Me Know. I'm so sick of her. Yeah, I have, I feel like I have sufficiently, no, not sufficiently, because I'll keep going, but I have talked a lot of shit on Jamie Lee. And I was triggered because when we were doing Next, Austin was eating fucking Activia. I don't know why it's his new thing. He just keeps eating Activia yogurt. And I was like, okay, Jamie Lee. Excuse me. Oh, dude, the Hulk. I just have to say, the Hulk Hogan tweets and memes, etc., has made today a pretty funny day on the internet. I feel like we don't really get those that often, but the comedy around Hulk Hogan, because look, let me just say, as I do with other major pop culture icons, I totally get that for a lot of people, Hulk Hogan was like a major figure in their lives when they were growing up. This is so funny because this is now 2 days in a row, or I guess Ozzy was 2 days ago. This is 2 times this week that a massive pop culture icon has passed. And I'm like, look, let me just state for the record, this person did not have an impact on my life because this was just something that I didn't grow up with. I didn't grow up with WWE. I didn't know anything about WWE until yet again I started dating Will Neff, who is obsessed with WWE. So that's how I learned. But I will say Hulk Hogan was so famous, was such a massive icon that of course I knew who he was. Like everybody knew the handlebar mustache, the American flag. They knew Hulk Hogan. He was in Gremlins too, totally. But like I didn't grow up revering him because of WWE or anything like that. But he was like a global sensation. So, anyway, one thing about Hulk Hogan, he was racist, but one of the craziest things that he said, and we'll go through Hulk Hogan's life and legacy. The reason that there's a lot of reincarnation memes is because that was something that he had talked about, and pretty well, infamously, I guess. He was on the phone with his son Nick, who had driven into a palm tree that left his friend paralyzed, like vegetative, and Nick went to prison for like 8 months. And there are a series of phone calls that TMZ reported on back when it happened that are like fucking insane. And it's Hulk and Nick talking about, first of all, they're talking about how like this was an act. One thing they say is that this was an act of God. Another thing is that they're going to be punished and be reincarnated as, well, as Hogan would say, N-words. Okay. So that's why, if you're wondering the context to like a lot of reincarnation, well, first of all, people are making the jokes because of Trish Paytas, where they're like, Trish Paytas tied her tubes so that Hulk Hogan would have no chance of being reincarnated. But yeah, like on the phone with his son, they were talking about how karma was going to punish them, and they would be reincarnated as, quote, N-words. So Hulk Hogan entering hell.
Where am I? There's no Hulkamaniacs here. I've never been here before. It's not hot.
What did they know? Bro, how have multiple people now been premonitory? Por qué Ozzy Osbourne y no Hulk Hogan? Well, 2 days later, the good Lord said, your prayers have been answered. What is happening? It's international. Porque Ozzy Osbourne y no Hulk Hogan. We have people willing this in Spanish. What's happening? What's going on? I just saw an interview with his daughter and that he refused to have a relationship with her unless it was on his terms. Yeah, his daughter, who you know why I think Hulk Hogan bonded with Donald Trump? Because I think they both wanted to fuck their blonde daughters. Okay, so anyway, yeah, we'll be of course looking back through Hulk Hogan's legacy, but also one thing in particular I want to revisit is the famous Gawker lawsuit when Hulk Hogan teamed up with Peter Thiel and essentially not just destroyed Gawker. Like Gawker had to file for it was over. But really changed the landscape of media and of internet blogging. And it's no joke to say that how things are today with like Donald Trump suing the Wall Street Journal for publishing the letters to Jeffrey Epstein, the suit over 60 Minutes editing the interview with Kamala Harris, like public figures, politicians, celebrities, etc., utilizing their enormous wealth to go after media. Absolutely the precedent that the Gawker lawsuit set bears responsibility. Elon is trying to bankrupt Media Matters right now with lawsuits. Yes. And the thing about Peter Thiel is he was always going to try and take down Gawker. It's just that Hulk Hogan and this sex tape fiasco was his way in. But for years, Peter Thiel had been had essentially been like trying to scheme as to a way to destroy Nick Denton, who was the who started Gawker, like life mission shit. Yes. And anyway, so we'll be revisiting that. You would think courts would be worried about the chilling effect this has on the First Amendment. Yeah, I mean, it's also, that era, 2016, of course, that was the year that Donald Trump became president. And that seemed to, you had Gawker going down. You had other internet blogs and media sites like kind of running scared. And then it kind of was this overall beginning of the decline of social media news. Why is a third party even allowed to bankroll a lawsuit like this? The intent is so clearly malicious. Well, the thing about it is like, at first, people didn't even know that Peter Thiel was the one behind it. And Gawker, Denton kind of had an idea because he and Peter Thiel were like, they were arch nemesis. And he knew that Peter Thiel fucking hated him. And so Gawker had put out a piece. Sorry, a lot of this is just, I'm trying to remember this all. Gawker had put out a piece that was essentially like hinting at there being some Silicon Valley billionaire who was funding this lawsuit. And then this started to get picked up on by other media. And then eventually it came out that it was Peter Thiel, because also he couldn't stop bragging to people that he was the one who was funding Hulk Hogan's lawsuit, because this was like 3 or 4 years. And of course it resulted in Hulk Hogan winning the invasion of privacy suit that was this was all over invasion of privacy. They litigated for 4 years, reached a settlement of like $30 million, and then Gawker had to file for bankruptcy after that. Love the orange top. Hey, thanks. Okay. Trump and Catholic Church fight law requiring clergy to report child abuse. Trump teaming up with the Catholic Church. You know, can this man chill for like one fucking second? Trump intervenes to help block law requiring priests to report child abuse revealed in confessions. Huh. You know, for a guy who's currently deep in shit because of his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein and is trying to distract away from that, which is why he's going hard on like this bullshit over Obama staging a coup with Hillary Clinton to win the 2016 election, which, like, again, Hillary lost and conceded when she lost. There was no conspiracy. There was no coup. That's Donald Trump and his supporters. So I just have to say, this guy, Donald Trump, keeps doing things that aren't helping the, hey, you seem to be a pedophile allegations. Yeah, this is the only time that Trump and the Catholic Church will join hands. God, Jesus. Is he assembling the pedophile dream team? You know, it would appear so. A federal judge has ruled that Catholic priests have, okay, as I said, they cannot be required to report child abuse. 3 Roman Catholic bishops has sued the state government over a new law that would extend mandatory abuse reporting rules to the sacrament of confession, despite the church's absolute ban on revealing such secrets. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I don't think confession being this thing per Catholic religious tenets as like a shrouded in secrecy, as in like, this is not HIPAA. Okay, this is not the responsibility that, say, therapists have to not publicly say things about their clients unless their clients are like about to commit crimes or something. They used confession as a reason for not reporting the crimes of Josh Duggar sooner. Yeah. Sorry, Catholics. I just don't think that confession bears the same legal silence that is in other professions. And even then, therapists are mandated reporters. Like, yes, there are definitely ethics and guidelines that therapists have to follow. Yes, but HIPAA even considers mandatory reporting. Like, it's not something where like doctors, you know, professionals who have to abide by HIPAA rules are never able to say anything. Okay. Did you see that the Skydance merger went through? I did see that the Skydance merger went through. Which we will talk about as well. All right, so let's start off with Hulkamania, the Hulkster. What reason could someone have to not report a child abuser? It's called the institution of the Catholic Church protecting their priests. Man, what is next? Is Trump just going to pass a law that straight up is like, yeah, you can just be a pedophile and you'll be fine? It'll be just the pro pedophile law. Pookie, thank you for the prime. Rogelio, thank you for the 30 months. Ibud, thank you for the 11 months. Yeah, he's going to try his hardest for sure. All right, so let's talk about wrestling legend and global sensation Hulk Hogan in all his glory. And if you remember, Hulk Hogan was at the RNC last year. Actually, you know what? We can start off with that. Hulk Hogan. If you remember, Donald Trump had collected a real cast of characters
Enough!
as his
Was
celebrities
enough!
at the RNC.
Let Trumpomania run wild, brother! Let Trumpomania rule again!
Can you imagine if he had died on stage because of this? That like this he overexerted because he died of cardiac arrest, I believe. They're like, can you imagine him overexerting himself on stage and having died then?
Let Trumpomania make America great again!
I've learned a lot watching him, and just he's personable, you know, and we even used him in the ring. We asked him to do this whole wrestling story where the billionaires were against each other.
Yeah, remember when Trump air kissed him? Blew him a kiss.
Donald Trump! Taking down Mr. Takeover of Donald Trump! Will it be? Will it be? Yes, it is! Lashley wins! And the realization of losing
As I said, 80s icons are biting the dust. I wonder who might be next.
his hair has just engulfed.
Will Hulk Hogan imitate Donald Trump? Yeah, I'll imitate Donald Trump. First thing we gotta do is get rid of anything that's cool. Next thing we gotta do is turn our back to everybody or on everybody. The comb over, brother. Let's see me pucker them little lips up. Oh, wait a minute, there's a flap of wind. Cover the bald spot. Hold on, brother.
We are
That's how
that
you
lucky.
imitate Donald Trump,
I
Trump.
know. Also, remember Hulk said that he especially he especially was publicly supporting Trump this latest time around because of when the assassination on Trump failed and he lifted his fist in the air and Hulk was like, yeah, that was badass.
That was so dope.
Olympi, thank you for the 15
We're
minutes.
gonna bring America back together. One real American at a time, brother. When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough
Who's they? Who's they?
was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again.
I mean, honestly, it makes sense that someone like Hulk Hogan was a figure in the 2024 Trump election, Trump campaign, because everything that Hulk is also Donald Trump. Right? It's like real, into the spectacle. Made his name in entertainment, racist, all these things that Donald Trump just of course would look at a guy like this and be like, yes, that's my kind of guy. Massive liar. Yeah, anti-union massive liar. Reality TV star. Can you believe we've lost 2 reality TV stars this week?
More border. Lower gas prices.
Yes.
Real
How did he even live this long? IDK.
Trumpomania, brother. We've got Trumpomania running this country, brother. One nation under God. Jesse Waters, this is your world, brother.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Hearing Jesse Waters say, yeah, baby. All right. Hulk Hogan dead at 71.
Florida officials tell CNN emergency personnel responded to a medical call at 9:51 a.m. related to cardiac arrest. CNN's Andy Scholes joins me now. Andy, what are you hearing?
Manu, I mean, it's just the sports world
Well, I'm
mourning
hearing
the
that
loss
he's
of Hulk
dead.
Hogan. He was just, he was a cultural icon. No one put wrestling on the map more than Hulk Hogan did in the 1980s. When he
Which, is absolutely true. Hulk he's widely regarded as the most recognized wrestling star worldwide and certainly was the most popular wrestler of the 1980s. And he, teaming up with Vince McMahon, is what led WWE to become the multi-billion-dollar, just massive massive pop culture institution that it is.
Slammed Andre the Giant. I mean, that was just a moment that really propelled wrestling into the mainstream. And, I grew up, I was a Hulkamaniac as a kid. When his song Real American hit, it would just give you chills when he would come out to the ring, and he was just such a performer and what a speaker he was. All the things he used to say, what you gonna do when Hulkamania runs wild on you, or when he was doing an interview with Mean Gene Okerlund.
He tried to pick up my girlfriend at a sushi bar in Venice. I almost punched him. Well, that's a crazy celebrity story. Also, depending on what year this was, I don't know. I don't know how well that would have gone.
And he said, "Let me tell you something, brother." I mean, it's just the things he did, that just resonated, for decades to come. And he was such a powerful speaker. Like I said, Manu, I worked in Dallas. He once came on my sports show back in the day called Inside Sports, and hey, Hulk, can you rip off a promo for us? And he immediately, just like that, Manu, just like that, was able to rip off a 20-second promo. No questions. But, the sports world and the WWE, everyone putting out a statement just of how sad of a moment this is. The WWE said, saddened to learn that Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan has passed.
Someone on the wrestling subreddit, who I guess lives down the street, posted he needs prayers because he saw the ambulances at his house, and then his post got deleted. Yeah, brother, I don't think prayers were enough.
Away. He's one of pop culture's most recognizable figures. Hogan helped WWE achieve global recognition in the 80s. And the WWE extends its condolences to Hogan's family, friends, and fans. And then Ric Flair, who was an icon right alongside Hogan through the decades wrestling, he said, "I'm absolutely shocked to hear about the passing of my close friend Hulk Hogan. Hulk has been by my side since we started in the wrestling business, an incredible athlete, talent, friend, and father. Our friendship has meant the world to me. He was always there for me when I didn't ask for him to be."
Yeah, Hulk was also largely influential on WWE stars then breaking into Hollywood, because in the 90s, I think it was when his extensive acting career, in the 80s, because he was in Rocky 3, and then he would cameo as himself a lot. He did video games, commercials. He had and then of course the reality show.
And he went on to share some stories of the Hulkster. But Manu, big
R.I.P. Iron Sheik. You knew it was up. Yeah, I saw this. Fuck the Hulk Hogan. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people felt that way. Certainly in the 2000s, when a lot of the most famous controversies came to light, namely the N-word on the sex tape. There were some really big moments in the 2000s that were not good for Hulk. But yeah, I mean, he was just this massive figure that also that's a thing in WWE too, playing the villain roles, but also he behind the scenes was doing stuff like union busting, which made him not popular.
Hulk, a big part of my childhood. I know everyone's got a Hulk Hogan moment they remember. And he's just an icon, and it's sad that he's now not with us, leaving us at the age of 71.
Yeah, there was nobody like Hulk Hogan. What a figure he was in society and wrestling and the like, and he'll be remembered by people both, not just in the sports world, but in
Oh my God, I thought that was Will's aunt.
In wrestling and the like, and he'll be remembered by people both, not just in the sports world, but in the political world as well, which we're going to talk about here at the table. Andy Scholes, thank you so much for that, and we're back here around the table. Hulk, of course, was a big supporter of President Trump's. None of us can forget this memorable speech from the 2024 Republican convention.
took a shot at my hero. And they tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
You know, I will say though, like by the time Hulk Hogan started doing the MAGA thing, it was very much so like every other celebrity that has that has jumped on the MAGA train. Like his relevancy had so far reduced, some would say washed up, that yeah, of course now you have Hulk Hogan on the campaign trail with Donald Trump.
I mean, I don't really remember a lot from the Republican convention. I remember that vividly.
I mean, yeah.
You were in the room.
I was. I mean, no one will forget the like tearing off of the shirt. Look, I mean, he was someone I remember when I was talking to a lot of people on the ground. They were like, this is what I'm excited for. People were so jazzed that they were going to be seeing Hulk Hogan. A lot of, you know, my sources, a lot of people I've talked with, they're like, not a lot of people get me excited anymore, but Hulk Hogan does. And it was interesting because he actually was a primetime speaker. He spoke, he was one of the last people to go on right before the president came out and gave his speech. He also was someone who didn't always support Trump. It was actually pretty late in the race that he ended up going out and endorsing him. He said after he saw him stand up at Butler, you know, that's what did it for.
Every time someone was designated to go over to on him, beat him, he would say that doesn't work for me and exercise his contractual creative control to change that. It became an iconic wrestling meme.
But look, I mean, he really became not only obviously what Andy was saying, a huge icon, a figure, but he really became that in the Republican movement as well. And we're seeing already, I was looking on my phone on social media, people like Donald Trump Jr., a lot of the president's top supporters, family members, you know, saying that he was a legend and you know, rest in peace, Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, and he had a lot of power. I'm saying that is such a funny pause moment. The reason that he had so much control over other wrestlers and frequently like fucked other wrestlers over and wanted to, you know, to make sure that no one could eclipse him, that he would chop people at their knees before they could get too big, is because of his relationship with Vince McMahon. When Vince McMahon bought the WWF from his father in the early 80s, he wanted to expand into a nation, like make it nationwide. And so he personally picked Hulk Hogan to be the main attraction. And that was due to his being very charismatic, to him having name recognition. And so he was absolutely a fan favorite and had a lot of power.
Donald Trump Jr. just tweeted, "R.I.P. to a legend, Hulk Hogan." They developed a friendship beyond.
Can we thank Will for all this knowledge you're dropping? Hell no, this is all me, okay? I like to call myself a pop culture historian, a student of pop culture. Will like his obsession with WWE is more of just like him telling me about people today, like showing me moves and stuff like that. But as far as whenever I cover somebody who was had a major influence in pop culture, that's all me.
You know, just him being someone
lady.
who, as you can see on the screen, the tweet right there. Beyond just being a celebrity that, you know, we see political parties bring celebrities on for a variety of reasons, but for the Trump world and Trump family, there was a friendship and a relationship that was built as well.
Totally, and Hogan would go on some of the podcasts that they had. He did a lot of interviews around it. And I mean, look, he was someone who they all, like many other people, really idolized. And to have him, I remember getting up on that stage, again, from all the conversations I was having, no one was more excited for him, and everyone was chanting USA. It was one of those moments sitting in the convention center where you could tell like the energy was so excited for him. So yeah,
This is kind of annoying because they're just talking specifically about Hulk Hogan's role in the RNC. Like,
crazy. This news really sad that he's gone now.
Yeah, and Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, just posted as well. I always saw him as a stature he's a giant in stature and in life. That's what it says there on there. But CNN's Brian Stelter joins me live now, and Brian, talk to me about his legacy, not just in politics, as we've discussed.
There's a video on why other wrestlers hate him. It's called "Why Hulk Hogan is Hated by His Wrestling Peers by Stunned by Wrestling." Yeah, everyone hated Hulk Hogan. He literally died as a villain, which, you know, that tracks. But yeah, I mean, look, there's acknowledging him as one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time and like reaching global icon status. And then also acknowledging that he was very, very hated, and for a lot of good reasons.
And of course, in sports, as we've discussed, but also in the media.
Listen, we've all learned the phrase in recent years, GOAT. You know, sports fans debate who is the GOAT in various fields.
And one reason that he perfectly fit into the Trump world is that he would always claim people hated him for his political beliefs. When the thing is that he screwed a lot of people over many decades, and there were a lot of his haters who it didn't have to do with his political beliefs.
Oh, Hulk Hogan was the GOAT,
I mean, he
when it comes to the world of wrestling
with his own daughter.
and in the world of world wrestling entertainment. When you think about the WWE, there's that word, entertainment. And Hulk Hogan, more than any other wrestler in the 80s and 90s, knew how to put on a show. He knew how to entertain. And he really helped build the WWE into the worldwide franchise that it is today. It has become such a huge business, and that was partly on Hulk Hogan's literal back. When I think about Hogan's legacy, I also think about his legal legacy. You were talking before the break about Hogan's politics. We know, of course, how President Trump has been very litigious lately. Well, who was it that...
Like, here's one story. Okay, so there was a wrestler who was one of the greatest wrestlers at the time in the early 90s, Bret Hart. And Hogan persuaded Vince McMahon to alter the ending of WrestleMania 9 at the very last minute. And remember, this is theater, right? It's soap opera. It's all scripted. It's all planned out. But this is what Hulk would do, is that he would last minute, like, go to Vince McMahon, convince him to make changes so that he always got to win. It was scripted, yes. Well, sorry, I'm looking behind the curtain. And so instead of Hart getting to defend his title, Hogan snatched his belt back on a technicality. And it was like very anticlimactic. And he went around bragging and parading the belt around. And Bret Hart never fucking forgave him, which is just one of many stories of wrestlers who despised him.
Kind of ushered in this era of celebrity lawsuits against media outlets. I would say Hulk Hogan is the person that gets that billing. Hulk Hogan was, he decided to sue a blog called Gawker about 10 years ago at this point, because Gawker published a sex tape that he was in. This lawsuit worked its way through the courts for years. It eventually bankrupted Gawker. It was a very big trial in Florida at the time. It bankrupted the blog, kicked it out of business. And what we later learned was that the entire lawsuit was bankrolled by billionaire tech entrepreneur Peter Thiel. He was angry at another Gawker-affiliated blog for outing him a number of years earlier. So Hulk Hogan's identity, his name, it'll be remembered in many different ways, of course, for sports and for wrestling, for politics, but also for legal reasons, because he essentially was able to knock out that famous blog Gawker through a legal battle about a decade ago.
Yeah, that was a very, very big deal, a shuttering of Gawker, and successful in that lawsuit. and so many things, media, politics. I also remember in 2000, he also had faked a presidential run, appearing on the Tonight Show in a bit of a gag and pretending he was going for president. He didn't do it then, but Trump later said in 2024 he'd give him a position as as a president's counsel on physical fitness, and that didn't really come to pass. But all right, Brian Stelter, thank you for that remembrance of.
Can we see that moment? Yeah, hold on. Hulk Hogan announces presidential run. Tonight Show. This was. If someone can find that moment and then link it to me, that'd be great. Okay. So let's talk about
Hulk Hogan, former professional wrestler.
Okay, so let's talk about the Gawker lawsuit, which was a massive moment, not just in the Hulk Hogan timeline, but in the history of media and entertainment, internet media. What about the time Hulk put a Gann in a headlock and he passed out? The Hulk released the limp body, he just fell to the floor onto his head. Insane piece of shit move. Yep, many such instances. Okay, so let me take you back. Let me take you all back to 2007. All right, 2007. Gawker, which was a media company. It was an internet blog, and one of the first to really understand the promise and potential of news online. Gawker put out a piece about Peter Thiel, and it was something like Peter Thiel is gay. Okay, the first line of the piece mentions the fact that Peter Thiel is gay. And this was not the first time that Gawker had written something on Peter Thiel that pissed him off. But this was essentially like outing him in this piece that came out in 2007. And for 4 years, Peter Thiel was scheming up ways to destroy Gawker. Like, this was a personal grievance. This was a billionaire who had an axe to grind, and he fucking despised Nick Denton, who was the founder of Gawker. And so for 4 years was essentially trying to figure out how to destroy this media company. And there is this book, Conspiracy, Peter Thiel, Hulk Hogan, Gawker, and the Anatomy of Intrigue. And in this book, the author, Ryan Holiday, talks about how Peter Thiel had an acquaintance who was like 20-something years old. Okay, very strange. Only referred to as Mr. A. And apparently Mr. A came up with the idea in 2011, so this is 4 years after the Gawker piece that outs Peter Thiel, to target Gawker by an open-ended legal fund. Okay, so this was before the publication of the Hulk Hogan sex tape, and this was basically we're going to use Peter Thiel's money to take down Gawker. So then what happens is the sex tape is sent to Gawker. And this sex tape was Hulk Hogan, who at the time was still married to his first wife, Linda, but apparently was like, their marriage was on the rocks. He was feeling really down. So he goes to his friend, who's some radio DJ in Florida, and is like, oh, I'm so sad, blah, blah, blah. And Hulk claims that his buddy, this DJ, was like, oh, let me cheer you up. Yeah, Bubba the Love Sponge. Bubba the Love Sponge was like, here, let me cheer you up. Have sex with my wife. Okay. So Hulk Hogan is like, sure. And he claims he didn't know that it was being taped and that Bubba the Love Sponge taped Hulk Hogan having sex with Mrs. Bubba the Love Sponge and then just held on to those tapes. Okay, so it gets kind of crazier because the police believe the reason that those tapes ended up in Gawker's possession is that some rival DJ of Bubba the Love Sponge broke into Bubba the Love Sponge's house, got the tapes from like inside a drawer in his desk, and then sent those to Gawker. So there's a lot of people who have like confused the details of the year, and they think that Gawker like stalked Hulk Hogan and like filmed the sex tape themselves. No, this was literally, they were anonymously sent the sex tape and then they released the full thing. I think some of it was edited, but essentially they released it. And like, you see Hulk Hogan's dick and you hear him go on this rant using the N-word because Brooke, his daughter at the time, was like dating a black guy. And so Hulk Hogan goes on this like really now infamous rant on this sex tape. He also was saying like homophobic things. He was really checking all the boxes on this sex tape. Okay. So Hulk Hogan is obviously really upset because of the sex tape. And so he decides he wants to go after Gawker. Permission to hit the bong, Big C? Permission granted. He wants to go after Gawker and go for like invasion of privacy. Peter Thiel and this secretive 20-something-year-old, I'm assuming is probably a twink, okay, knowing Peter Thiel. They're like scheming together and they go, we're going to use this as a way to take down Gawker. This is finally our opportunity. We're going to bankroll Hulk Hogan's lawsuit to the tune of $10 million and take down Gawker. Because Gawker would not have, like, had it been just Hulk Hogan going up against Gawker, this wouldn't be the story that is today. But by having billionaire Peter Thiel, who was like, I will spend whatever it takes, ultimately that is what led to Gawker's destruction. Okay, so that's context there.
Turned reality star is taking down media website Gawker. The issue, Gawker published part of a Hulk Hogan sex tape, and the costly courtroom battle is bringing Gawker to its knees. Here's a breakdown of the fight, punch by punch.
And also, what this civil trial was all about is it pitted the First Amendment, like freedom of the press, freedom of speech. It pitted this against the privacy rights of celebrities. So essentially, Hulk Hogan and his team argued in front of a judge and jury that his rights as a celebrity and as a citizen, his rights to privacy overrode the right of Gawker to have freedom of the press, right? To have freedom of speech in publishing that video where they said this was not newsworthy. And so this essentially is just an invasion of privacy.
News reports begin to circulate on the internet about a possible
And let me be clear, okay? Peter Thiel's fucking evil. But like Gawker outing him, although it's legal, like what they did in that piece, that was legal. It was gross, right? There were certain things that Gawker was known for that definitely crossed the line of being unethical. And that's because Nick Denton, when he started Gawker, he was looking at the state of legacy media and then, you know, how the internet was starting to really boom and how people were turning to the internet more and more. And he saw this saw this big opportunity to essentially be a challenge to the legacy mainstream media outlets by having an internet media site. And he took a lot of inspiration from the British tabloids. So Nick Denton was a UK journalist. He wrote for like the Financial Times. He looked at the British tabloids. He looked at like how they really love, gossip, like things that are salacious, sticky. And he went, I'm going to do this with my news site. So like there were journalists who wrote for Gawker who would write like in the world, about science and other like serious topics. But Gawker also was known for being trashy, like for being sticky, because that was Denton's purpose. And he was very successful. Like it was kind of like him and then Jonah Peretti were two guys who were just really instinctive, understood that the internet was kind of the place to be, and that they could create these create this enterprise, these empires, by making news for the internet that would go viral, that like people were just they were into like memes and lists and shit like that. And Gawker's whole point was like, we want people to open Gawker in the morning and then come back to Gawker throughout the day. We're like, oh, in the same way that you would go to Twitter for breaking news, right? Back in the day, it's like you went to Twitter because a lot of times things would break on Twitter before anywhere else. And like journalists, everybody was on Twitter. And so it was a really big place to get breaking news from. And so Gawker was like, for the people, for the people of the internet, and it was successful until this lawsuit.
Hogan sex tape. Gawker posts a
I forgot what I was saying. So anyway, yes, it was gross, like that they outed Peter Thiel. He's a fucking horrible, piece of shit. But still, there were things Gawker did that absolutely crossed ethical lines, and like they did it on purpose because they knew that that's not how legacy media operated, and they wanted to do things different for the internet. And then also there's the whole thing over the sex tape, where one of the Gawker guys, even on the stand, like they weren't really taking it seriously. And I think this is before they understood that Peter Thiel was funding this suit. They talked about how like they said like, oh yeah, I guess it wasn't newsworthy. Like that was kind of a damning thing. And made a joke on the stand where I think the lawyer, Hogan's lawyer was like, so is there any case in which you think that it's not appropriate to post a celebrity sex tape? And then one of the Gawker guys was like, yeah, I guess if it's a child, like made a pedophile joke or something. Yeah, and they got fucking cooked. However, what the bigger picture here was that this was a catalyst in how the media and how like internet bloggers and kind of this blossomed freedom of people to write things on the internet was challenged now by the power of billionaires. Essentially, a person like Peter Thiel, with all the money in the world, all the resources in the world, could take down an entire media company that published something they didn't like. So a lot of what we've seen happening in this decade, especially with somebody like Donald Trump, can be traced back to this civil lawsuit.
Minute 40-second montage from a sex tape recorded in 2006 featuring Hogan and Heather Clem, the wife of Hogan's friend and radio host Bubba the Love Sponge Clem. Former Gawker editor A.J. Delorio also posts more than 1,400 words about the full 30-minute tape. Hogan files 2 lawsuits, the first against Bubba and Heather Clem, the second against Gawker for $100 million alleging defamation and invasion of privacy. Hogan says he never knew he was being taped. Gawker says showing the footage is protected under the Constitution because Hogan has made his sex life a matter of public interest. Hogan and Bubba reach a settlement, and Bubba issues a statement saying, quote, Hulk Hogan was unaware of the presence of the recording device in my bedroom. A district court judge sides with Gawker, saying, quote, the balance between the First Amendment and copyright is preserved in part by the doctrine of fair use. The following year, a circuit judge orders in a preliminary ruling that Gawker remove the video of Hogan as well as the written commentary from its site. Gawker takes down the video, but leaves up the post describing the 30-minute sex tape. As the legal battle rages on, Gawker's founder has made no bones about what losing this legal battle could mean for the media company.
Very few media companies keep $100 million in a war chest for this kind of occasion.
A Florida jury awards Hogan more than $140 million. Gawker's attorneys plan to appeal the decision. As a judge denies Gawker's motions for a new trial, it's revealed that Silicon Valley billionaire Peter Thiel financed Hogan's lawsuit. The investment is personal. Thiel was outed as gay by Gawker in 2007. Thiel told the New York Times that those and other articles ruined people's lives for no reason. Meantime, Gawker explores a sale as a contingency against the several lawsuits filed against it. Gawker files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The filing comes just after a Florida judge granted Gawker's motion to postpone the $140 million it owes Hulk Hogan. Gawker Media is bought by Univision, but its flagship site, Gawker.com, is shutting down. In a statement, Nick Denton said he couldn't find a single company that wanted to take on the controversy.
Yeah, and Thiel's lawyers had said that his involvement in the lawsuits against Gawker were brought in part because of an economic interest, even though Thiel himself had previously said it was not a business venture. And he said numerous times the case was not about the extent of the First Amendment, but an individual's right to privacy. But, yeah, oh no, sounds familiar, right? Yeah, and this was because of Peter Thiel's personal beef with Gawker, that for years he had sought to take it down. And ultimately, like, It is so indicative of how if somebody prints something, okay, that a billionaire like Peter Thiel doesn't like, that they can spend $10 million to try and destroy that outlet, that company. And so for bloggers, for individuals who didn't have big backing, like, this scared the shit out of people, where it was like, okay, wait a second, I guess we have to be, I guess now, does this mean that if we report on something that we can get sued for it? I mean, this is something my independent journalist friends express concern over all the time, where they no longer have the backing of major institutions like Washington Post or New York Times, etc. So if they get sued for something like defamation, they're in big trouble.
Site, Denton says Hulk Hogan and Peter Thiel made it too risky for buyers.
Yeah, and then here's a link to the 2015 article where Gawker published Jeffrey Epstein's Little Black Book, if you remember this, before Peter Thiel and Hulk Hogan made them go bankrupt. 2015 also happened to be when Epstein was putting money into Thiel's Villar Ventures. In 2015 and 2016, Mr. Epstein put $40 million into two funds managed by Villar Ventures, a New York firm that was co-founded by Mr. Thiel. Today, that investment is worth nearly $170 million, according to a confidential financial analysis of the late Mr. Epstein's estate reviewed by the New York Times and a statement provided by a Valar spokesman. The investment in Valar, which specializes in providing startup capital to financial services tech companies, is the largest asset still held by Epstein's estate, some 6 years after he died by suicide in federal custody while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. Oh, yeah, there's an overlap here. So there were a lot of people who had an interest in a site like Gawker getting taken down, and not just Gawker, but other internet media companies like Gawker, and also just media companies in general. And like what we've seen billionaires like Jeff Bezos take over legacy institutions like the Washington Post, where it's either, you sue them into oblivion or you buy them. So, venture capitalists coming in and buying up a lot of the media landscape so that they have control over narratives. They have control over what gets published. Okay, I thought I had another. All right, so. Okay. So that is kind of just a revisiting of the Gawker lawsuit, which ended in a lot of money for Hulk Hogan. Satisfaction for Peter Thiel, and bankruptcy for Gawker Media, and the legal precedent that set, and also how other celebrities have used the Hulk Hogan lawsuit as a precedent for arguing their rights to privacy, as in the public does not taking advantage of the public not liking the press. And so when details of public figures' private lives, intimate details, are published, that they can utilize that dislike of the press to be aggressive in suing over unflattering news coverage. So it really emboldens celebrities, politicians, and other public figures to file lawsuits. Right? So regardless of how you feel over Hulk Hogan's sex tape being released by Gawker, how the effect of this case, which has been a lasting effect, how this effect led to libel and privacy lawsuits being weaponized to take down media organizations, is not a good thing. So since Peter is gay and Vance is his blood boy, does that mean they were involved in the past? Wait, JD Vance? Some Dirt, thank you for the 13 months. Jant, thank you for the Prime. 8-Bit Forever, thank you for the Prime. OMG, E! News is canceled. Oh, yeah, wait. Breaking news. E! News has been canceled after 32 years on air, which means it's Quan News from here on out. All right, move aside,
Thanks,
E! News.
Carolyn, less than 3.
I mean, this makes sense because so much of news has moved to digital, and so E! News has millions of followers across social media platforms. They have a really big digital presence. And so late night, I mean, this is just another example of the death of late night, where people aren't watching this stuff anymore. If they're consuming E! News, then they're doing so they're doing so digitally. So yeah, after 32 years, E! News is coming to an end. They are going to be leveraging their coverage and commentary across digital and social platforms. They will also continue to have a presence on Hollywood red carpets with Live from E! The Critics' Choice Awards will air on E! on January 4th. I heard that the benchmark for journalism is the Nelk Boys now. Yeah, baby. That is the epitome of journalism. Okay. Continuing on with Hulk Hogan. So we talked about, let's see, here are the biggest controversies of his career. We talked about the racist tirade and sex tape. Yeah, he was literally just screaming the N-word on this sex tape, and then also was using homophobic slurs as well. Okay, large role in the destruction of WCW. When he refused to lose a fight with WCW, Vince Russo went out of his way to trash Hogan via promo. However, given Hogan was handed creative control, the promo broke that contract, allowing Hogan to sue WCW, costing them tons of money and playing a larger role in eventually them selling to WWE. Very messy divorce with Linda Hogan. Linda was the Hulkster's wife for most of his wrestling career. However, the marriage did not end well. The pair bickered constantly as each wanted to drag the other down. Linda even accused Hogan of cheating on her, which he literally did. He had a sex tape. He absolutely cheated on her. Laundry list of lies. Hogan would do any. Yeah, Hogan was known for being like a prolific liar. Wait, he was saying racial slurs while having sex? Yes, on this sex tape, he was. Well, I don't know. I've never seen the tape, but I don't know if it was when he was literally in the act of having sex that then he was going on a rant about his daughter Brooke's black boyfriend, or if it was simply like a moment on the tape, maybe post-coital. What race was the wife? Linda? White. They're all white as hell. No one cared that George Foreman was the face of the George Foreman grill instead of Hogan until Hogan falsely claimed that he was supposed to be the face and only wasn't because he missed the company's call. Hogan swore that he received a voicemail claiming that both he and Foreman had received offers. However, the inventor of the grill claimed that he had never even considered Hogan. Hogan also lied about being hurt by Undertaker via pile driver. Undertaker feared for his job and was only saved because video evidence showed that the Undertaker had performed the move perfectly, not allowing Hogan to get hurt at all. Hogan also erroneously claimed that he was offered a role in the band Metallica as a bassist. It wasn't long before band members Lars Ulrich and James Hetfield shot down those rumors, calling him a liar. Bro pretended that he was offered a role in Metallica.
Yeah, brother, I'm supposed to be in Metallica.
His abuse of power within pro wrestling. When WCW signed Hogan, they gave him creative control over the company, but that did not go as well as they hoped. At Starrcade 1997, many fans were hoping to see Sting dethrone Hogan as champion, but Hogan's contract clause gave him the authority to change the outcome, giving himself the win, much to the chagrin of fans everywhere. He continued abusing this power elsewhere too. Fellow wrestler Bret Hart, I already told this story, recalls Hogan being unwilling to drop the championship in 1993. Shawn Michaels also tells a story of Hogan backing out of an agreement in which Michaels would win a rematch between the two. His weird moments in politics. Throughout his career, he made a few strange decisions in the world of politics. Not only did he fake a presidential campaign in 2000, but he also threatened to body slam former Vice President Kamala Harris at a Trump rally. Yeah, remember that? That's taking things a bit too far. Steroid usage. The 1990s WWE steroids trial saw Vince McMahon under fire for illegal drug usage in pro wrestling. Hogan was the biggest witness of the case, and after years of claiming he had never used steroids, sure, Jan, he finally came clean in an effort to avoid a perjury charge. At the very least, Hogan did not throw McMahon under the bus, claiming that McMahon had never offered or supplied him with steroids. Hogan's testimony played a large role in McMahon avoiding jail time. He was a straight up, well, this is USA Today. Okay, now here's the anti-union. He was the fucking union buster, okay? So Jesse Ventura, who went on to become the governor of Minnesota, okay, he had planned to organize a wildcat strike in the days before WrestleMania 2. When the performers had, when their leverage was at like its highest. And so a lot of this conversation was being discussed like in the locker room, stuff like that. And Hogan was a little fucking snitch. And the things that they were, seeking were healthcare and retirement benefits. Those were among the main demands. So Hogan catches wind of this, all right? He hears about this, and he goes straight to Vince McMahon, that little scabby snitch. And Vince McMahon then threatened to fire any wrestler who was involved in the unionizing effort. And Hogan never apologized to Jesse Ventura and the other wrestlers who attempted to unionize. And to this day, WWE wrestlers lack any type of union. So this was like their big opportunity to unionize, and motherfucking Hulk Hogan.
Never spoken to him since and don't intend to.
Did he ever try? Jesse Ventura.
Ryan. Why would he bother? Why would he bother with me? He's dealing with Hulkamania. The only time he made contact, he wrote a book when I was governor, and he was coming here once to do a book signing, and he wanted to make sure I wouldn't get him arrested. So he actually had Vince McMahon contact me as governor. And you know what I told Vince? I said, you tell Hulk, believe it or not, I have more important things on my mind than him. I said, I know it'll destroy his ego to hear that, but I don't think of him on a daily basis.
I mean, I don't know how, I don't know how you clap back to that. There was another clip here. Wait, okay.
Yeah. What's the likelihood of that ever being repaired?
Never.
Why?
I have to have a trust with someone to be their friend. And he's the one that ratted me to Vince when I tried to unionize. I told my lawyer the story, and in deposition you could ask about anything. And so I wanted to know who ratted me in the locker room, because there were no agents, no one from the office was in there when I did it. So it had to be one of the boys. With no hesitation, Vince went, Hulk Hogan told me. And I didn't show any emotion, but I almost tipped over in the chair because he was my friend. And I thought, but then I understand why. When we went to court, I saw in WrestleMania 3, Hogan got paid more than all of us combined.
Now,
why would he want a union?
Yeah.
When he's getting taken care of.
You and Hulk.
Why would he want a union when he was making more than the rest of them combined? Tuna Fish, thank you for the bits. Yes, I am in SAG. Because you're a star. Thank you. Corn V, thank you for the 10 months. Some Dirt, thank you for the 13 months. Jesse grew up pretty poor and did manual labor jobs, etc. Of course, was a SEAL with some rata military dude post that, and has always been cool, very socially progressive. Like, honestly, there's a lot of shitty things that Hulk Hogan said and did, but this may be one of the greatest crimes against humanity that he committed. The fact that these guys were looking for healthcare and retirement benefits, especially healthcare in a field like professional wrestling, and that they were organizing and planning this in the locker room, and motherfucking Hulk, little fucking snake, spied on them and then ran straight to Daddy McMahon because he did not want these union efforts to hurt his position at all, to hurt his money at all, because he was like by far and away had much more control and money than the rest of these guys. And the fact that there's still no union today, and I think that shows Hogan as like the conniving, opportunistic person that he was. He also never apologized for any of this stuff. A lot of the wrestlers that he fucked over throughout the years never apologized for. And I'm sure he looked at it as like, well, that's why I'm number one. That's why I have the success that I have, because I wasn't afraid to like make people hate me. And I don't know, I guess I guess he never got his final chapter. You know, he didn't get to go out as a hero in wrestling, so maybe that's some penance there. Here's the Iron Sheik video. In honor of Hulk Hogan dying, here's an unhinged Iron Sheik ranting about...
No! Why do you say you want to fuck
sorry.
Hulk Hogan himself?
Well, maybe I can do that himself, but not his wife, not his daughter. I mean, I'm gonna fuck him up differently. That means beat the fuck out of him and suplex him, put him in the camel clutch, break his back, and fuck his ass and make him humble. That's what I said.
Oh my God.
But besides that, I don't want to talk about his family. That's a chip in.
Shake.
You're another one I heard. You're gonna be in my list sooner or late.
Shake. But you say you want to fuck Hogan in the ass. That's gay.
I don't
even know what he's
but I
saying.
just said it differently. Instead of I fuck his ass with my dick, instead I'm gonna fuck his ass with a beer bottle.
Oh,
Jesus, man.
I see, with a beer bottle.
Yes,
Okay,
all right,
he did
because I
not
was
like,
worried.
he did not like him.
No.
Why do you say you want to fuck Hulk Hogan himself?
I think it's safe to say that he did not like the Hulkster. Wait, also, did you guys know that Hulk Hogan for years had to pay, he had to pay a percentage to Marvel because he had to pay. Marvel obtained the trademarks to Hulk Hogan, Hulkster, and Hulkmania, and then they said that he was never allowed to refer to himself as just Hulk. He couldn't dress in purple or green. He couldn't refer to himself as Incredible. And so they received a percentage of all gross merchandise revenue that was associated with Hulk Hogan. His Twitter was always fuck Hulk Hogan. Oh, Iron Sheik. Yeah. Because of the name Hulk. Yes, because of the similarities between Marvel's character, the Incredible Hulk, and then Hulk Hogan. So that led to a legal claim between Marvel Comics and Titan Sports that Hogan worked under. And so he forever had to pay a percentage of his merchandise, of his gross merchandise revenue. He literally admits to the name being inspired by the character. That's him just being a dumbass. Yeah. Can't wear purple shorts. Well, that's okay because, you know, his colors were like red and yellow, and he would wear the American flag. He was very into that. It's just like kind of sad revisiting this Jesse Ventura. You know, it's like, man, yeah, what a fucking asshole. What a piece of shit. Oh yeah, he faced The Rock at WrestleMania in 2002. I'm in better shape than him, Hogan told Reuters at the time, 5 months shy of his 50th birthday. I'll stand next to The Rock and pose down with him if he wants to. The Rock ultimately won the match. Hogan was inducted twice into the WWE Hall of Fame and referred to himself as the Babe Ruth of wrestling. He was so after the sex tape leaked, and then there were the rant, you know, the N-word ranting, the homophobic ranting. He admitted to being racist to a point, his own words. Literally said, yeah, I'm racist to a point. This is so funny though, okay? He tried to claim that growing up in Tampa, that the N-word was so normalized, that like everybody said it. And so it was because of the way that he grew up. That's why he was, you know, ranting about his daughter's black boyfriend. And his neighbors in Tampa pushed back and were like, no, that's not true. No, that's not true, Ellen. They were like, no, we did not all say the N-word. That was not something that was just constantly passing through our lips. Like, Tampa is racist. Yeah. Look, not to say Florida doesn't have racism, but it was kind of funny that like he tried to be like, yeah, this is because of like the neighborhood I grew up in Tampa, and everybody said the N-word. And his old neighbors were like, no. Yeah, but I grew up racist, so it's okay. But yeah, then what happened was a couple of pretty big black wrestlers, such as Dennis Rodman, they like supported Hulk Hogan, and I think the WWE and Hogan used the support that he had from other black wrestlers who were like, no, Hulk he's never been racist to me. Like, I don't think he meant any harm in saying the N-word. He's a good guy. He's my brother. And so they tried to be like, look, see, it's okay. That's all right. Look, we have a couple of black guys who are saying that he's not racist. And then he made that shitty apology to the locker by just saying, be mindful of... Yes, he said, be mindful of cameras and don't get caught out of context. Yes, he absolutely did not genuinely feel bad for the shit that he said. Because he was like, just don't get caught on camera. And I have to find, hold on a second. Nick Hogan and Hulk Hogan, prison phone calls. Okay. Nick Hogan's jailhouse conversations recorded. TMZ posted several audio conversations between Hulk Hogan and his son Nick, who's currently serving 8 months in prison for an August 2007 automobile accident. This was also the same year as the sex tape was made, that left John Graziano in a coma. So to reiterate what I already said, his son got drunk and drove and crashed into a palm tree and paralyzed his friend and then went to prison. And he's had like multiple DUIs too. In one conversation, Hulk says God was responsible for what happened to Graziano as punishment for his own behavior. Nick responds to his father that Graziano was a negative person. Nick then tells his father to develop a reality series to begin with his release from incarceration. Yeah, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Clearly. Hogan tells his son that he will make him an owner in his upcoming television series with partners Eric Bischoff and Jason Hervey. In a second conversation, Hogan tells Nick that he'll try to schedule a hearing to get Nick moved to another facility, but would not show up at the hearing because it would attract publicity and pressure the judge not to do the right thing. Hogan also tells Nick not to tell his mother, Linda, about the hearing. And then this isn't included in this, but that was when Hogan was like, oh yeah, we're going to be reincarnated as N-words because karma. Like he was extremely vilely racist. Yes. Yeah. And this was in response to his son paralyzing his friend. Like he ruined his friend's life. And then you know what happened to Nick Hogan? Nothing. He went to prison for a little bit. He got out, and here he is. Here he is. I think he like went to prison again. I don't know. A year ago, he was arrested again in Tampa for a DUI. Yeah, so his friend John Graziano requires 24/7 medical care because of what Nick Hogan did to him. And then on the phone with his father in prison was, and then Hogan kept being like, he kept calling his son the N-word and was like, yeah, the reason that we say that is because we're best friends. And that's what we call each other this, like they call each other the N-word because they're best friends. These were their phone conversations from when Nick was in prison. Caroline, have you been following the human trafficking lawsuit against WWE and Linda McMahon? Did I cover this a little bit ago? I can't remember. Did I cover this? The what? Oh, yeah. Linda McMahon, who was Trump's, who he had picked to lead the Department of Education, who was she was the former CEO of the WWE, which she co-founded with her husband Vince. She's being sued for allegedly enabling sexual abuse of children. So yeah, let's look at the updates here. There's like a lot of bad shit around the McMahon family. Their criminal activities go deep. Okay, this is from February. Is there Linda McMahon lawsuit? I'm trying to see what the latest. The crimes in the WWE rabbit hole is deep. Yeah. As Linda McMahon is set to face a confirmation hearing Thursday. Again, this is from February, though. Federal prosecutors drop criminal probe into Vince McMahon. Right, but this was separate. Remember, Vince McMahon, there was a separate lawsuit against him for his own sexual misconduct. Like, this is what I mean by the criminal activities of the McMahon empire go deep. So Vince McMahon there was a criminal investigation into him, into whether or not he tried to cover up allegations of sexual misconduct with multiple former employees. And this one, federal prosecutors dropped back in February as well. So in 2022, the Wall Street Journal reported that McMahon had paid more than $12 million to 4 women formerly employed by WWE over 16 years to silence claims of sexual misconduct. This included one former WWE wrestler who claimed McMahon had coerced her into performing oral sex, only to demote and eventually opt not to renew her contract after she declined subsequent sexual advances. This story followed a separate journal report that the WWE's board was looking into McMahon for quietly agreeing to pay a $3 million settlement to a former staffer with whom he allegedly had an affair. At the time, McMahon pledged he would cooperate with the investigation, accept the findings and outcome of the investigation, whatever they are. Okay. And then in January 2023, the journal reported he had inked a multi-million-dollar settlement with the first woman to referee the WWF after the former staffer accused him of rape in a letter. Yeah, a lot of allegations against this guy, settlements, etc. So this is separate, though, from this other lawsuit. They were sued by 5 former WWE ring boys for allegedly allowing a former ringside announcer to use his position to sexually exploit children as young as 12 starting in the 80s. They have denied the allegations. Yeah, they're like always wrapped up in insane suits. So I don't know what the latest is on this. I can't see anything past February. Yeah, also insane. Insane to have Linda McMahon as the head of as the Secretary of Education. Like the Trump administration is a fucking joke. Have you ever watched Dark Side of the Ring? It showed a lot of wrestling backstage controversies and stories that were buried by Vince McMahon and his lackeys. Have I ever watched that? Wait, why did we talk about this? I think we talked about this when I watched, what was the Zac Efron movie? We watched that, and I think we had a whole discussion about stuff. The lawsuit accused McMahon and her husband, Vince McMahon, of enabling the sexual abuse and exploitation of children known as ring boys. She let a pedophile run through her company. I'm so tired of all these pedophiles. And I'm so tired of people allowing these pedophiles to be pedophiles. Holy shit. Oh my God. Iron Claw. Yeah, that was the movie. Said the sister of an alleged victim, her voice breaking with emotion. She spoke on the condition of anonymity to protect the identities of some of the John Does. She knew better. It was her duty to report this to the police and have that man arrested. Ah! Holy shit. Why do so many people enable pedophiles? Why are... And again, like, I'm sorry, but it's crazy too that this is yet another pedophile MAGA connection, okay? You got MAGA out here being like, we're fighting the pedophiles and the pedophiles are drag queens. It's like, actually, your fucking guy and all the people around him, maybe you should look there, okay? Maybe you should look at these rich fucking assholes who are all wrapped up in sex crimes and crimes against children. The pedophiles are coming from inside the house. Like, is every person appointed by Trump connected to Epstein? I mean, you know, there's... Hi. Yeah, they joined the fight on pedophiles on the side of pedophiles. Oh my God. Okay. All right. I only have like an hour left before I got to go to Hassan's birthday dinner. So let's keep going. I think I sufficiently covered Hulk Hogan. Okay. All righty. Oh, I have never related to a celebrity as hard as I have watching Pedro Pascal and the cast of Fantastic Four playing Marvel Rivals.
I don't think I should play. This is going to be sad as hell.
It's so gripping. It's very gripping indeed.
And then you can change
Nice
perspective
angle.
with the rifle.
That's nice.
Can
That is
I
nice,
go get the?
actually.
So how do I get my ultimate charge?
Such a long,
Such
such
a
a
long.
long.
Now, he has an amazing
on it.
push the both of those.
This is actually one of the better, like, press things, you know, internet trendy press things that the cast of a movie has to do.
And he just jumps on all of the enemies, which will be...
So I just did on the stairs, unfortunately.
Try your punch against
How do I punch?
I like that. Oh, that's good. I like
that backwards run.
It's very compelling.
It is. Well, how do I get down?
The right controller, yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Oh, right controller will like move your head, your vision.
Yeah.
The left controller will move your body around.
Yeah.
Look at all.
This is very difficult, man. This is how do kids learn how to do this, man?
Well,
I just like
There we go. You also have your right bumpers, like the.
There we go. You
back-
got one.
Yeah,
See,
that-
that was satisfying.
Was that satisfying?
Yeah, it was.
Could you press one of those? This one right here.
This one here, I'm doing it.
So this is like more tanky mode you've got.
Oh, what have I done?
Return the favor.
They have time.
He has not hit us. Oh, there we go.
Looks like you there. Look at those lines.
So they all have different kind of roles. Thing is like a tank. He takes a lot of the damage. Your character's kind of
That's
tanky.
that's my favorite move. The backwards run. Yeah.
There we go. Easy.
I just hit a wall. And another wall.
I just hit a wall. This is
All right.
We'll be versus some real players, and it'll be good. You guys are ready. All right.
This is so me. Papa Steve Z, thank you for the tier 1. Yes, Jay Aubrey has a great video on Vince McMahon that we can certainly get into one day. The longer videos peak. It's so it's so funny. And I watched it and I went, "Oh my God, this is exactly how I am." I'm like, "Why am I hitting a wall? How do I punch? What do I do? How do I do this?" Also, have you guys from yesterday when we talked about the clearly astroturfed hate campaign against Pedro Pascal? I today noticed that a lot of people were talking about it, that more people have noticed, more people have caught on to the fact that this is going on. Like they are going... The accounts behind this are trying so badly to create this hate campaign, this smear campaign. And if you can't see how transparent it is, if you can't see all the reasons like why they're targeting Pedro, then you need to watch my streams, okay? How many times do we talk about these manufactured smear campaigns and how the people behind them are often misogynists, they are bigots, they are doing these hate campaigns because they know that they can succeed, you know, they know that they can succeed on the internet, that they can like utilize all the tactics of smear campaigns previous. This will be a first time. It's just what's different here is that it's a man. But keep in mind that like Pedro is a man who is very outspoken about trans rights. Okay. He was also on the carpet, like talking about, here he is talking about immigrants.
En Los Ángeles, si quisiera alguna de tus palabras, ¿qué piensas de esto?
Están atacando las mejores,
he says they're attacking the spirit of our culture, the best people. It has to be defended. For me, an Instagram post is not enough. Every day I'm trying to survive emotionally, mentally, and also to understand how to be more in service. Like, he is always advocating his progressive beliefs. Okay, he's advocated for Palestine. He's always advocating for trans people. His sister is trans. He is like publicly gone up against J.K. Rowling. And so even though he's a guy and usually smear campaigns are directed towards women, he is someone who these hateful freaks online are like, oh, we can use the tactics that we use when we smear women and do it against Pedro. And they hate him because for many reasons, honestly. Like, it just depends on who it is, right? The TERF accounts that are going after him, like this one, this had almost 400,000 likes on Twitter, okay? Now, a lot of them I think are bots because we know that bots are a big part of AstroTurf campaigns. But this is just one example of someone whose whole account is turfy, and they have reposted J.K. Rowling a lot, and they're trying to make Pedro out to be a sexual predator. These people don't care about real sexual predators. They don't care about like crimes against women. They are not feminists. They are not progressive. They're just being gross here, and they're trying to attack him via this false, like, I'm standing up for women, when the reality is that they hate the fact that he's an advocate for the trans community. Have you seen the Pedro first guy not allowed to have a work wife one? I've seen all of them. Yeah. Oh, and now they're making AI videos. Look at this shit. Look at this fucking shit. Please don't prove I'm right. They're making AI videos. Please, 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 don't bring me to tears when I just... With Sabrina Carpenter songs. It's horrible. Honestly, I feel the same way that I feel towards BBW's egg sack. I just burn it down. Burn it all. Fucking kill it. Kill it. Oh my God. And there's so much going on here that's so stupid. I feel parasocially protective of that man. Well, it's because you can see how transparent this hate campaign is, right? And how rooted in bullshit it is. First of all, to act as if co-stars on a red carpet have never been familiar with each other. Okay, you literally have the famous clip of Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain when he holds out her arm and is like kissing up her arm, and everyone went, oh my God, rightfully so, because it's incredibly sexy. And it's one thing about this is like Pedro, I'm not going to say what his sexuality is because he has never publicly stated it. But yeah, he seems a little zesty, okay? He seems like he's flamboyant. He's clearly comfortable around men, around women, and that is something that a lot of men just cannot handle. They cannot handle seeing like women loving Pedro Pascal, whether they are fans of his, whether they are friends of his co-stars. And they're just like, they're losing their minds over it. So I think there's a lot going on here. I think there is a discomfort from misogynistic incel men online with how Pedro Pascal as a man is. I think there's that. I think there's the TERFs, obviously, who are using this as a way to, we're going to take him down because he's advocated for trans people. Yeah, and then, haters are hating. Haters are hating. He's also like one of the most famous people in the world now. He's in 3 major movies. Like, he's a huge star. He's incredibly visible. So like him using, a lot of you are dicks. A lot of you mods are dicks. I'm going to tell Twitch, you're really not making yourself look cool whatsoever. You're gonna snitch to Twitch about what? That mods have too much. What are you talking about? Doodly
Pedro
loves
is
Chloe.
and you love him for it.
So I'm going around Twitch. I'm gonna tell Twitch that mods have too much power. Who hurt you? What's going on? What is your... Okay, a lot of you are dicks. I don't know what this crusade is against just in general mods, but you came into the wrong community. Mods must answer for their crimes. Mods, you need to answer for your crimes. Yeah, poor Chloe. I hope she is far away. Frick, thank you for the 16 months. Yeah, I mean, okay, as I said, a lot of reasons why these internet accounts are going after Pedro, and I just hope that people can see how obviously manufactured this is, and like this is another example of a blatant smear campaign, and the reasons for it being because they don't like Pedro, they don't like his political beliefs. That's what's going on. Hogan, thank you for the gifted sub. I am livid. I'm sending cease and assist to all of your mods, you stupid streamer. You stupid streamer. And it's also always very funny too to see these weirdos online try and pretend as if they care about women And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, you guys definitely are the ones who care so much about the rights and safety of women, who care about women, you know, not being abused by powerful men. Really? Because you're the same fucking assholes who are happy to defend a rich guy when he's been accused of sexual misconduct. My bubble of Twitter saw no hate versus Pedro, which is funny. I think I didn't like Fantastic Four enough. Twitter, bro, I have nothing to do with Fantastic Four. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know why this shit pops up on my timeline, but yeah, whatever. This is what you were talking about. Yes. Like, hello? I mean, this is incredibly sexy. I love this. But to act as if co-stars have never touched each other on a red carpet. Hello? Hello?
Baby, I just wanna be yours. I wanna be yours. I wanna be yours.
Stupid, sexy Oscar Isaac. Stupid, sexy Oscar Isaac. Yeah, and the funny thing too is, like, in a lot of the videos and pictures from Fantastic Four press tour, Vanessa Kirby is initiating touch with Pedro. And then all the claims of, like, oh, he never does this around men. There are so many pictures of his male celebrity friends cuddling him. Okay, there's literally the picture that always makes the rounds of Oscar Isaac, like, holding Pedro Pascal like he's baby girl, you know? It literally has him in an embrace. So I'm sorry if you are a person who clearly doesn't have friends with, you don't have friends who are women, okay? You don't have anyone in your life at all. You have no life. You have no one who cares about you. You have no one who is comfortable at all with touching you that way and with you touching them. That's what's going on. Yeah. He does. He's also extremely affectionate with male co-stars, i.e. Oscar Isaac, Paul Mescal, etc. You guys are just insecure and upset. Both women and men feel comfortable around him. Like, it's so stupid. It's so stupid that it has to even be addressed, because it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? But yeah. Okay, next thing that we are going to cover. What do I have in here? Vogue uses, okay, speaking of AI, this is awful. So in the August issue of Vogue, people have discovered that there's an AI model. And also she looks a lot like Denise Richards. So methinks Denise Richards should maybe sue. But let me show you this. Okay. Yeah, that's an AI model. Because there's a shortage of human models, I guess. There's no beautiful women who could model for the pages of Vogue. Is that what's going on? Like, that's Denise Richards. That is Denise Richards. That is motherfucking Denise Richards. It's a younger Denise Richards, but that is Denise Richards. But AI. Yeah. Produced by Seraphine Valora on AI. This is so bad, okay? If you're like tuning out because you're like, whatever, who cares? It's just Vogue magazine. I don't care about any of this stuff. You should. Do you want to live in a world where everything is fake? Do you think that this is chill? Do you think this is good that Vogue magazine, the premier fashion magazine for decades, has just released their August issue and for the first time now has AI models in Vogue? And also, do you understand how fucked up this is? Think about young women and girls, okay? Like, who are already, magazines, the glossy covers of beautiful people on the glossy covers of magazines was already something that was like hard for your self-esteem. And now you have literally impossible standards. All right. This is not a real human being. This is an impossible standard because it's AI. I guess it wasn't glossy enough that we have to use AI models. As if I'm not already insecure. Yeah. Now you have to compete with AI beauty standards. You have to compete with beauty that is artificially created. Like, this is to the extreme, There's so many metaphors in here. Genuinely, there's so many metaphors and like just speaking to the state of where we're at. and you look at the beauty industry, and this is like, it's giving an episode of Black Mirror, right? How the logical conclusion of the multi-billion-dollar beauty industry and beauty standards is, oh, this is impossible to achieve because it's artificially created. Holy shit. At long last, AI bots across cyberspace can finally chant Drake's lyric, "Don't tell me that you model if you ain't been in Vogue," with some real oomph. It appears that nestled in the pages of Vogue's August issue is AI model getting her moment in the limelight. And let me tell you, okay, before this becomes more of a thing, we have to be outraged and we have to express that outrage. Because if no one says anything, then Vogue will be like, yeah, who gives a shit? Like, the reason that they snuck in this AI model is to like test things out. They wanted to put this AI model on the pages of Vogue to see how it would go over. And then they're basically testing the waters. They're like, okay, well then now let's put more AI models. So these are the moments that we have to be like, no, fuck this. Gross. Like, my editor, I'm going to have her make a clip of this moment so that I can put this on the internet and say, this is disgusting. This is beyond dystopic. We do not want AI models on the cover of in magazines. Fuck this. Say it with me. A series of images in an advertisement for Guess featuring a blonde woman in a striped dress and a floral romper situation are stamped with tiny fine print produced by Seraphine Valora on AI. It's unclear just how much of the image was made with AI. We've reached out to Guess for comment, but it's pretty evident the woman pictured is, at the very least, airbrushed to the absolute gods. Her hair has not a strand out of place. Her skin is so smooth, it's uncanny, and her teeth all sit in a blinding white row like little chiclets waiting to be chomped. You know what it is? It's like, when we used to kind of joke around and have fun with like Facetune, you could set it to a filter that's it's like the Chad and Chat. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's so over the top filtered. And it was like a meme thing for a moment. Yeah, people would post that because it was, the Yassify. Yes, thank you. Yes, it was the Yassify meme that was a result of using these ridiculous face app filters. But like, that's what this is now. This AI is absolutely Yassified. The bold glamour filter. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Although the ad wasn't cooked up in-house at Vogue, the magazine is still catching flack for it. Someone had to approve its appearance in those pages. One comment under a video calling attention to the ad read, "This is war on art, fashion, and culture." Another said it's insane because it's not like we're short on people looking for modeling gigs or anything either. Several users are calling for a boycott of both Vogue and Guess. Young fashion fans and creatives took to TikTok to lament the decisions from both Guess to produce the ad and Vogue to give it a place in its pages. Fans created video montages of pre-AI photo shoots and snippets of famous runway moments. It's kind of nice that the youth crave reality. They want mess and creativity and freedom and wonder. They want art made by humans. Perhaps we should let them have it.
There you are with floor collapsing, falling, bouncing back and one day I am growing, chemical
Boycott Vogue. Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing that people are responding really negatively to the Vogue AI. You know, I will say too, y'all know me, okay? Well, y'all know Fashion, her biggest op being Anna Wintour. But Anna, I think, was a person who kind of pushed back on like technological dominance, and I feel like her stepping down as hold on a second. Hello, I'm on stream.
No, he's deflecting. I have a question for you, Caroline Kwan.
Yes.
How many times have you kissed Austin Show, and is it more or less than 0?
More.
How many times have you kissed Austin Show?
I don't know. I don't keep track.
No, because that's interesting. That's interesting because Austin says you guys have never kissed.
Caroline, I certainly don't. I don't recall it.
Oh, then I guess it's not true.
Caroline, you have kissed Austin Show at least a dozen times. True or false?
I don't know. Where are you getting these numbers?
True or false? At least a dozen times.
Thank you, Caroline. Everybody knows I would never kiss a woman.
That's true. Even though.
You guys remember kissing me?
Oh, I have.
Kissed that woman.
Oh no, I have kissed Cutie a couple times.
Everyone remembers kissing. Wait, you know what, Caroline? We did kiss. At that night at the Abbey, I kissed everybody that night. You remember that?
Austin, I don't recall.
Oh my God. Oh shit. Okay, well. Not someone in Caroline's chat saying this feels related to Pedro.
Yes, they clocked it.
This is the Pedro situation.
They clocked it. All right.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Are we really going to talk about kissing members of Furian when you're you?
Caroline, I have no problem with it. I was the one that was trying to normalize it.
Okay.
Lion-ass gay over here was like, I've never kissed that woman in my life. I was like, yes, you have, many times.
It's not many times.
Okay, Austin, you.
So many times.
It's so many times.
Okay, I am going to say, Austin, you have noted. I'm going to go back on everything I said because you have noted the softness of my lips.
The softness?
Do I have dementia?
You might.
What are you talking? You kissed her a lot.
He's got gay-mentia.
Yes, Austin, we have kissed so many times.
We kissed her that many times?
So many times.
I've just kissed so many men in between, I've just lost track.
Austin, there's clips. There's like video evidence.
Really?
That high register is crazy.
Oh my God, that's crazy. One thing I can okay. This is what I recall. I've kissed Cutie once. I kissed Will one time, I think, at the Abbey. I've never kissed Hassan. Never will.
Well, it's his birthday tomorrow. Maybe a little gift.
No, it just made me uncomfortable deeply.
Yeah, he would hate that.
But too much facial hair.
Yeah, he would hate that.
Will, did you give Hassan my present?
Yes, directly from Barry Obama.
Did Obama actually write that?
Check the signature.
Yeah, it looks.
Literally Google his signature and it matches up.
Caroline, we have to let you go.
Okay, goodbye. I'll see you guys later.
Bye, soft lips.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, last year, if you recall, I gifted Hassan the Hillary's book, and I had it signed by her. And this year, my gift to him was Barack Obama's The Promised Land, and I also had that inscripted. For real, it was really him who wrote a note and signed it. Yeah. Isn't it crazy, my connections? It's wild. Okay, what were we talking about? We were talking about the AI model in Vogue. First of all, let me just say, like, I thought we were doing a bit at first. I cannot believe Austin actually doesn't remember how many times we've kissed. He is always doing this. Like, I'll see him and he goes, he is always putting those lips out. You know, it's like catching a fish that's already caught in a net. You can't avoid it. And he goes, do I have to? Really? Really? Gay Mencha's no joke, everybody. Yeah, we all saw the Streamer Awards kiss. I mean, look, Austin kisses like a gay man kissing a woman. Okay? We've all seen the Streamer Awards kiss. I can't believe he did not recall. If there's two things about Austin's show, it's that he's always kissing me and that he's always sending me videos that are send this to the prettiest girl you know. He just sent me one. This is the kind of stuff that he sends me. Send this to the prettiest girl you know. Truly, he sends us all, like, she owes you French toast. I know he's sending that to Cutie too. No, I verified. I said, Austin, are you playing me? Are you sending this to every girl? He sends that to you. He sends me that too. Is he sending this to everyone? God damn it. I'm done with him. You know what? It's time for a smear campaign against Austin's show. Okay, everybody release videos and photos of him and I touching and be like, what's going on with this? All right, so we talked about the AI model in Vogue. Not good, bad. Ali Oxenfree, thank you for the 16 months. Real Human Beings, thank you for the gifted subs. Slayer Siren, thank you for the Prime. Okay, now let's look at Trump's meltdown over the South Park episode. Calls the show fourth rate. You know, if there's one thing about Donald Trump, it's that he's so fucking predictable. We knew he was going to go ballistic over the South Park episode. So essentially what happened is South Park signed their deal. They finally signed their deal with Paramount for $1.5 billion. It's a 5-year deal. And there had been like issues over the signing because of the merger with Paramount and Skydance. And Skydance was like, well, we have final say over this, and we didn't do any type of handshake deal. And then meanwhile, the Paramount settling this the lawsuit with Donald Trump, paying him $16 million, Late Show being canceled. So South Park signs this deal and then 24 hours later drops the premiere episode, which this is kind of killing me, thinking that like they just had everybody, they like signed the deal and then they're like, okay, let's get to work, and cranked out this premiere episode that attacks completely, like it's just a full attack, mocking Donald Trump, depicting him as literally in bed with the devil, showing him having like a teeny tiny penis, and then also like mocking Paramount for the $16 million settlement. So they did not hold back at all. They signed the deal, they got their money, and they went, great, and now we're gonna make fun of all of you. So Trump has, of course, reacted to this poorly. The left's hypocrisy truly has no end. For years, they have come after South Park. Oh, and the funny thing, too, is that MAGA has thought for a while that South Park is on their team. I don't know if y'all know this, but MAGA loves South Park because they think that they don't understand. They don't understand the humor and the satire of South Park, and they legitimately think that because of Cartman. Yeah, they think it's anti-woke. They think Cartman is, I think he's the good guy. They identify with him, and so they love South Park. So they're reeling too. They're genuinely like, it's the same thing with The Boys. Yes, where they looked around, they went, wait, is this fucking play about us? So they're also freaking out and pissed off because of the South Park episode. The left's hypocrisy truly is no end. For years, they have come after South Park for what they labeled as offensive content, but suddenly they are praising the show. Trump White House spokesperson Taylor Rogers tells Rolling Stone in a statement Thursday morning, just like the creators of South Park, the left has no authentic or original content. I love that it's always, everything is always made out about the left. That it's always like the left hates comedy. The left hates everything fun. The left boogeyman. Yeah. This mysterious like leftism is when no fun. Leftism is when no jokes. Yeah. Opposing Trump makes you the radical left. Just like the creators of South Park, the left has no authentic or original content, which is why their popularity continues to hit record lows. This show hasn't been relevant for over 20 years and is hanging on by a thread with uninspired ideas in a desperate attempt for attention. Really? Because y'all were loving South Park, but now you're saying that it hasn't been relevant for over 20 years? President Trump has delivered on more promises in just 6 months than any other president in our country's history. And no fourth-rate show can derail President Trump's hot streak. So if South Park is as irrelevant as you claim it is, and that they're just desperate for attention, then why are you so mad, bro? Why are you getting so upset? Why does it even matter? Yeah, then why mad? Also, they're hanging on by a thread after they just signed a $1.5 billion deal. I don't know if that's, yeah. I don't think that's a show that hasn't been relevant for over 20 years. The episode came just hours after it was reported that Paramount had agreed to buy the global streaming rights for South Park in a 5-year deal worth $1.5 billion. The twice impeached, repeatedly indicted president has for decades harbored intense, mean-spirited pop culture fixations. And that personality trait has not changed 6 months into his second administration. It'd be easier to shrug off his celebrity obsessions as mere cattiness if waging war on late night television and its corporate owners weren't an actual facet of this administration's sprawling project of authoritarianism and fear. Yeah, you know what doesn't create great art? You know what is anti-culture? Fascism. Fascism is ultimately a snake eating its own tail. It destroys everything, and then it has nowhere to go. Yeah, it's so irrelevant the United States president is commenting on it, that the White House put out a statement. Has he put anything on Truth Social? Has anyone seen any Truth Social Trump post about South Park? Hogan, thank you for the gifted to South Park. Prior to the White House's statement, Rolling Stone had asked several Trump advisors if clips of the latest South Park episode had been circulating among Trump's staff. One senior administration official replied, "Of course," because he's chronically online. Y'all, as I said, one thing about Donald Trump, he is so predictable. That man is chronically online. Anything that is negative about Trump, especially in the world of pop culture, he sees it immediately. He is so online. He's worse than all of us. Like, remember all the details about his first administration where he wouldn't read any of the briefings that his team would prepare for him because he was just always like on his phone because he was on social media and then watching Fox and Friends. Like, he could not. He's an iPad kid. He's an iPad baby. So they replied, of course, noting how much their phone had lit up about it. A Trump advisor also said they'd seen it and that as a longtime fan of the series, they found it disappointing. Trump recently secured a hefty payout from Paramount to settle his meritless lawsuit against CBS News 60 Minutes based on his claims that the show selectively edited an interview with former Vice President Kamala Harris, his 2024 opponent, to make her look better. This agreement is part of a broader pattern of major corporations settling Trump's baseless lawsuits. Cough, cough, Columbia. Can you fucking believe Columbia agreed to pay $220 million in order to restore their federal funding? They are paying $200 million over 3 years and an additional $21 million to settle U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission investigations. It's so vile. It's so bad. It's really not good. And this sets a bad precedent for higher education and how more and more private universities will be just totally capitulating to Trump. All he has to do is threaten, I'm going to withhold your federal funding. You know, I'm going to utilize every arm of Congress. I'm going to use all my agencies, everything that I have at my disposal, so that you bend the knee. They should just rename themselves Trump University if they're going to lick his boots that much. Yeah, well, there already was Trump University. Okay, the Paramount settlement comes as the firm seeks regulatory approval for its merger with Skydance that did go through today and appears to contain more than just a payout to Trump's library fund. According to Trump, the deal includes a $16 million settlement as well as $20 million from the new owners in advertising, PSAs, or similar programming. South Park specifically skewered the reported PSA arrangement on Wednesday. The episode concluded with an AI-generated PSA showing a fully nude Trump wandering the desert with a teeny tiny penis. Trump has faced mounting criticism over its efforts to cozy up to Trump. The executive producer of 60 Minutes quit in April and said he was no longer allowed to make independent decisions running the show. The company's decision to part ways with host Stephen Colbert and end his late night show has created an uproar too. Earlier this week, Colbert responded to a Truth Social post from Trump in which the president said he hoped he was the reason Colbert had been fired. Go fuck yourself. All right, so let's take a look at the Paramount Skydance merger.
The FCC just approving that long simmering merger between Paramount and Skydance, a media company. Now remember the context of this. This is a deal getting the green light just weeks after Paramount agreed to settle with the Trump administration for $16 million. And just days after Paramount fired Stephen Colbert. Now they said it wasn't linked to this, but there has been some
Wait, Trump responded during the interview he gave earlier today to South Park. God damn it! Fuck you!
Concern around that. The White House basically had the final say, the Trump administration, on whether this merger got approved, with critics suggesting that the lawsuit settlement may have played a part in that. I want to bring in NBC's Brian Chung. Super interesting here. So let me take this in a couple of buckets. Bucket one, this was not unexpected, but give us the nuts and bolts of what this means for the companies, Paramount and Skydance here. Then we'll take the politics separately.
Yeah, well, I mean, first, it means that this long consummated marriage between these two companies that have been kind of suspended in this regulatory question of whether or not the FCC was going to give them their blessing is now answered. The FCC says, hey, it's all right, and you guys can merge. So, again, these properties will now be together under the same umbrella. This is, again, a company, Paramount, that has been looking for a buyer for quite some time, and they found that in Skydance. So, again, this is the final step, and this deal is now going to be done. Now, when it comes to the way that this is going to be structured, what's interesting about the FCC release that we just received a few minutes ago is that there are some outline details by which the government wants them to structure their company as a condition for getting this approval. Like, for example, having an ombudsman that's going to...
Also, just like the merger itself, okay, the bending the knee to Trump aside, this major $8 billion merger itself it's not a good thing, all right? Remember Warner Media a couple years ago merged with Discovery, and now it's Warner Brothers Discovery, and David Zaslav just making horrible decision after horrible decision over there, and how as these major mergers happen, what results in is a lessening of competition, okay, which we know can it usually results in higher prices for consumers. So as streaming services are getting more and more expensive, as they're adding in commercial tiers, etc., also deciding to just like nix shows and movies from their platforms, write off the costs, right? Like dump finished films so that they can take the tax write-off. So the merger itself is worrisome. Like, it's not good to keep having these massive conglomerate mergers.
Have to report to the president of New Paramount to evaluate complaints of bias. And then there's also a commitment to no DEI programs that Paramount will be implementing on their employees going forward. So again, these are conditions for getting this done. And I want to point out just how unusual the beginning of this statement from the FCC is. The first sentence from Chairman Carr says, Americans no longer trust the legacy national news media to report fully, accurately, and fairly. Again, you can see the kind of political undertones that are a part of this release.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly it, Brian. I would go so far as to call it an overtone here, because later in the statement from Chairman Carr, he says Skydance will adopt measures that can, I'm quoting here, root out the bias that has undermined trust in the national news media, saying that these commitments that you're talking about, these conditions, would let CBS, they say...
Having Trump's head of the FCC say Americans no longer trust legacy media, and so we're gonna fix... We're going to be the ones that you can trust. We're going to ensure fairness in journalism. We're going to do things like get rid of DEI initiatives because that's so unfair. Crazy how streaming killed cable, and now streaming services are just like cable was in a way. Yeah.
operate in the public interest and focus on fair, unbiased, and fact-based coverage here. It is a remarkable moment to see an administration asserting itself so explicitly into sort of this private business situation.
Yeah, well, especially considering how we got here. As you point out, there were kind of a number of ducks that essentially Paramount got in a row before the FCC ended up doing this, like just last week canceling the Colbert Show with the comedian taking a number of barbs at the shooting a number of barbs at the president. And then they canceled the show, although they said that was for a purely financial reason. And then prior to that, there was, of course, the $18 million settlement between Paramount and President Trump over the 60 Minutes cut of that Kamala Harris interview. It was $16 million, by the way. And then, of course, actually just last night, there was that South Park episode, which took a number of shots at the president. You do wonder if that entered the kind of conversation as well. But again, the FCC giving this transaction its blessing. So it seems like they don't have to worry about that anymore.
Of course, South Park mocking the Paramount lawsuit, the administration,
with many jokes that I can't say here.
Oh, we would not even be, I think, allowed to show them. Right. But one question, Brian. What happens if these...
Yeah, like I definitely didn't show on my stream.
You know, quote-unquote conditions are not met. In other words, the green light for the merger is contingent upon, you know, this list of things. What happens if the merger goes through and then the Trump administration 2 years from now takes exception, let's say, to something that Paramount or Skydance does? What happens?
Yeah, I mean, presumably the FCC could try to challenge the company. Again, the deal is going to go through. They're going to merge, but I guess there could be some sort of review, and maybe they can hit them with some sort of punitive charges or try to take them to court. But again, it's very much unclear. I think that it was very much what they did leading up to this that's more impactful than, say, how closely they abide to this this agreement, if you will, going on.
Also, I know we keep talking today about dangerous precedents, but this being this being so clearly bribery, so clearly like Trump's FCC having concerns over this merger, and then these concerns being alleviated after Paramount essentially paid the president a bribe, and Larry Ellison has met with Trump repeatedly, has, of course, I'm sure, made the message clear that, like, hey, we're going to be much more Trump friendly than than of the past. So we will, as a private company, we will allow your influence as president of the United States to play a part in our dealings.
Forward, but again, we'll have to see.
Brian Chung, again, news coming into us in literally the last maybe 14 minutes or so about this merger and its approval. So, Brian, thank you very much for scrambling for us on that one. Appreciate it.
Here's Elizabeth Warren taking a video from her car. Merger. This is so funny.
Huge breaking news just dropped.
So shaky.
Trump approved Paramount's $8 billion merger with Skydance, another giant media company. This could be corruption, and here's the reason why. Maybe you saw that Stephen Colbert's show was canceled last week. Well, just 3 days before it was canceled, Colbert called out Trump and Paramount, which is CBS's parent company, for making a deal that looks like a, quote, big fat bribe. Those were his words. So what's that, quote unquote, potential bribe that Colbert was referring to? Trump filed a sham lawsuit against...
This is the exact type of news she sprints to her car to record a video for this her Super Bowl. I mean, this is like Elizabeth Warren's bread and butter, right? Her experience in mergers and acquisitions in this area of finance, like this is her shit.
CBS. But instead of fighting it, CBS's parent company, Paramount, paid Trump $16 million to his future presidential library. So you got to ask, why'd Paramount do that if the suit was, quote, meritless? Well, maybe because they needed Trump to approve their multi-billion-dollar merger, which Trump just did. The appearance of this wink-wink deal basically lets every other company and every other billionaire know that Trump is open for business, apparently happy to accept offers in exchange for favors. On top of that, this deal is bad for competition and could make it more expensive for you to stream your favorite TV shows or movies or sports or whatever.
What if she was the one driving? Elizabeth Warren is driving while filming this video.
So, just like I've been doing for weeks, I'm calling for an urgent, independent investigation into this Paramount deal to see if this was actually bribery. And make no mistake, these CEOs may think that they can get away with anything they want, but they are not immune from the law. Bribery is still illegal. None of us can be silent about this, because you better believe Donald Trump isn't stopping here. Already, he's seemingly running the same play by suing the Wall Street Journal for publishing a story that Trump doesn't like about his parent relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Look, every single one of us needs to show Trump and the CEOs that we see what they are doing, and we will not be silenced.
The sirens and the bumps. South Park creators reveal network battle over premieres Trump penis as they joke, "We're terribly sorry." They took the stage at San Diego Comic-Con following a recent stretch that has seen plenty of headlines about the long-running Comedy Central animated series. Addressing the Hall H crowd Thursday as part of a panel promoting the network's adult animation programming alongside Beavis and Butthead creator Mike Judge and Digman co-creator Andy Samberg. At the start of the panel, moderator Josh Horowitz addressed the elephant in the room by asking the South Park creators if they had been following the noisy reaction to the show's season 27 premiere that aired Wednesday and included an unflattering depiction of President Donald Trump. Parker had a succinct response saying jokingly with a straight face, "We're terribly sorry." Also, one time, Trey Parker and his wife, are they still married, actually? Trey Parker wife, or are they divorced? I don't know. Boogie? No, they got divorced in 2019. Oh, I think maybe I met them when they were in the final year of their marriage. Boogie Tillman, who he was married to, but they came into the club one night. And no one else knew who Trey Parker was besides me. And he and Boogie ordered like $20,000 worth of alcohol. And they kept asking me to, they were like, drink, like party. And then I think they got in a really big fight. And I'm pretty sure this was 2019. And so this would have been the same year that they got a divorce then. Her name is Boogie. Yeah, I think she was a stripper. I don't know if that's like, if that's her name on her birth certificate, but yes, it's Boogie. He wrote Stan Marsh going through divorce when that was going on. Apparently no one recognizes Trey in public because Matt has more distinct features. Since South Park is trending, good excuse to tell the story. Years ago, a friend spotted Trey Parker just standing on the street alone at night in Manhattan. Yeah, he's a quirky guy. So we invited him to come with us to a friend's loft. Did he tip? Yeah, he did. He said sure and hung out all night. It was super fun and cool. We had a joke off in the cab where I told a sweet grasshopper joke. Then at Sharon's after party, he drank a ton with us and told a bunch of Hollywood stories and did South Park voices and impressions. Was just overall great and super down to earth. To answer a couple questions, this was the joke. Grasshopper walks into a bar. Bartender says, "Hey, we have a drink named after you." Grasshopper says, "You have a drink named Jake?" And this is how we luckily randomly stumbled upon him standing around doing nothing. Haha, no, he was a speaker at some showbiz conference and they had a party at some club. That wound down and he said he figured there'd be more, but no other plans materialized, so he was just outside getting ready to grab a cab back to the hotel when we randomly happened upon him. At the time, I would have recognized Matt Stone, but not Trey Parker. A girl with us was like, "Hey, isn't that Trey Parker over there?" We were like, no idea. And sure enough, he was. Yeah, he kind of strikes me as a a celebrity kind of like Bill Murray, where he'll just like hang out with random people. People be like, "Aren't you Trey Parker?" And he'll be like, "Yeah." "Do you want to hang out?" "Sure." It's like how Bill Murray's known for crashing weddings. Like if you're getting married and Bill Murray's around, you can just be like, "Hey, do you want to come in?" And then he'll probably give a speech. Okay, so a more direct reference to Trump came when the South Park creators were asked how they originally connected decades ago. "For me and Trey, we met over Monty Python," Stone said. "In this day when PBS is getting their funding cut, that's how I found Monty Python." The comment, which comes as Trump has signed a bill cutting federal funding. Oh, did you see like, was it Elmo or one of the other Sesame Street characters post about the funding cuts? It was so sad. Trump, such an evil motherfucker. Parker said that the show's team still finds the creative process to be as thrilling as ever. "We were at South Park this morning trying to figure out what next week's show is going to be." He pointed out that even for this week's season 27 premiere, the show's team just recently finalized the episode's story. "Just 3 days ago, we were going, I don't know if people are going to like this." He added that he and Stone were reading news headlines and said to each other, "Let's put that in there." As the conversation went on, discussion turned to notes from higher ups, and Horowitz asked if there were concerns about the premiere. Parker referenced the episode showing Trump's penis when he shared feedback from network brass. They were like, "We're going to blur the penis." And we're like, "No, you're not going to blur the penis." Stone said, this is painful for me though, because I don't want to think about Trump's penis. Even when it's not real, you know? "No, you're not going to blur the penis." Stone said the show's team agreed to add eyes to the penis. Then it's a character. As far as his initial inspiration for Beavis and Butthead, okay, and then this just gets into the rest of them. You know, there's not a lot of good news these days. There's not a lot of like, oh, hey, that's something to chuckle over. Anytime Donald Trump, like, you know, he is sitting there just pissed as all hell. He is so upset by this. We have to at least relish in that, you know? Doesn't matter if you don't like South Park or not. He is so mad. He is so upset. Fuming. And he's seen all the clips. He's seen people making fun of him. He is a baby. He's a big orange baby. Shitting and crying and pissing and throwing up over the South Park episode. How did they get this footage? All right, guys, I have to go. I gotta run. It's already 8:30. I didn't realize that. So sorry. This is a short one, but I got to G2G. Tomorrow I will be live, but we'll also have a shorter stream because I have another social thing tomorrow. So have fun. Thanks for stream. You are welcome. Thanks for being here, y'all. I'm quiet quitting. Yes. Tita Riddles, thank you for the bits. Okay, I'm gonna send y'all. I am going to send you all to... Oh my God. I've never rated Vanilla Mace. I'm going to send you over to Vanilla Mace. You heard of her? The Labubu Queen. Wait, did you guys see that picture of Karl Marx's grave and somebody had put a Labubu on it? Karl Marx would have loved Labubu. Marx would have loved Labubu. Like, just incredible. A Labubu on the grave of Karl Marx. All right, y'all. Peace and love. Thank you for joining me. I will see you tomorrow. Keep it Labubu.